At the door. All right, I'll be in order 7:02. And we should go through roll call. Okay, you good? Here. Brian.
Present.
David.
Here.
Dawn. Excused absence. Kimberly.
Here.
Pegla. She will be, is running late, but she will be here. So Parker is late, but here when she gets here. Well,
Here.
Corey. So, all right, so we have any changes to the agenda tonight? Let's look at it. Oh. All right, we have consent agenda. We have 3 rounds of meeting minutes to approve. We have July, August, and September. So just need a motion to approve the consent agendas for July, August, and September.
I make a motion to approve all 3. I second. I'll second that motion.
Seconded, I think it was seconded by Ryan. So yeah, yeah, just one after the other. So thank you to you both. All right, so we can basically, there's no public comment, we can get right into the business. Okay, so we have presentation. So I'm going to take this up. So Tiana, the person facility manager, she might present tonight on our integrated pest management. Now, just to set the foundation, so Tiana went to the Leadership Academy through the Oregon Recreation Parks Association, and it was a 6-month program. And part of what each student did through the program is the capstone project. So Tiana's project was integrated pest management. And so tonight she's going to present on that work she did over the last 6 months. And the great thing about it, we should probably talk a little bit about it, is the networking aspect behind this program. So she got to meet with people from all different agencies, talk to them about their pest management, and then she put together a really thorough integrated pest management draft. And part of the presentation today will be talking about the process behind integrated pest management. Ideally, what we would like to do is at the end of the presentation, we would like to have 2 or 3 people from the Parks Board throw their name in the hat to become part of the working group to help us take a look at it, provide input, and then we'll bring it back to the Parks and Trails Advisory Board sometime in December. Once we've taken and incorporated this comment, vetted through the process, and then ideally for the council to be determined when we'll have a resolution that will say, you know, the Parks Board reviewed this, whereas these are our cultural, mechanical, biological practices, and then the council will get to the work with the Parks Board and behind people upstairs.
Probably just
I was just noticing that the lights flicker in something.
Do they really?
That's what I was watching. Yeah, behind your desk.
That would be required, but you know, that's okay. So Kim, can you hear me okay? Is that okay?
I think I caught the majority of it. Yeah.
It was kind of projected, but so one of the things that Tiana will go through tonight will be some of those highlights of policy. Just remember, this will come back to the group in December, so you'll get the policy prior to that meeting with the full policy. But in the meantime, how to work with them, I will take it for the word. So, okay, well, without further ado, I'm going to take it to Tiana, and yeah, so the floor is yours.
You did give it to me.
Okay, well, Michelle stole some of my opening. Oh, I'm sorry. But my name's been new facility manager, Tiana Rendell, and I just completed a 6-month-long process with the Leadership Academy and O'Marley. And I wanted to share with you some of that process. And more specifically, my capstone project, which was to complete the IPM for the city. Since 1997, the population of Sandy has more than doubled. And we have added 5 mini parks, 6 neighborhood parks, a community park and Arden Plaza, a skate park, and over 200 acres of natural and open space to the park system. So it is time that we implement a policy that enables staff to be responsible stewards of the land. We've been using a simple policy that has been getting us by, but with the speed of development in Sandy, there is a need to improve our practices around pest management. Developing a detailed IPM will give us a three-pronged approach using policy, planning, and maintenance to manage our pests responsibly. That's a smaller time.
Next week.
The city of Sandy parks and recreation facilities serve a population that is 2 to 3 times larger than the 11,650 people within the city limits. These areas include the villages of Mount Hood, Warren, Eagle Creek, and Estacada. We have had an opportunity to restructure the department and shift parks and facilities maintenance from public works over to recreation and create a more traditional parks and rec department. With that, we are developing policies that will be current with industry standards and address safety, training, records, and transparency. When I wrote my proposal for this project, I believed that I would be assisting management by creating a document to facilitate the oversight of the pesticide use within the city. But as I mentioned, I have recently been promoted and now I'm adjusting to my new role. With additional projects competing for priority, the timeline of my capstone has been extended. But more than that, through this process, I've learned about the needs to implement a more detailed operating procedure addressing personal protective equipment, storage equipment, and how we are going to communicate with the public. This project is already encouraging changes in how we do business. There will be new training requirements for staff and expectations of new hires. We have created 2 new job titles and now have 2 new tiers in parks. We have a Parks and Facilities Maintenance Worker 1 and Parks and Facilities Maintenance Worker 2. We will ask for 1 to get an apprentice license within 6 months of hire and a 2 to get their applicator's license within 6 months. We're going to ask my role to maintain an applicator's license as well, and we will highly encourage apprentices to go for an applicator's license after 1 year of maintaining that apprentice license. We have created new signs for public awareness and transparency. Included in the signs are the chemicals being used, areas to be treated, and informational contact numbers and websites. Maintenance will be directed through policy and planning and carried out through cultural practices, biological methods, and lastly, by the application of chemicals. Cultural practices are things that you can do to discourage pest invasion, such as good sanitation, removing debris and infested plant material, proper watering and fertilizing, growing competitive plants, or using pest-resistant plants. Biological control is the use of using living organisms to suppress pest populations, making them less damaging than they would otherwise have been. This slide shows you the 16 practices that are now included in the proposed IPM policy. There's a little bit of a formatting error there where it looks like more than 16. Some of them are wrapped around. These are what we'll be asking our volunteers to closely look through once we share that document. As we transition back to my experience through the Leadership Academy as a whole, during that 6-month process, each month we would complete an online learning session. There were 2 sessions that really stood out to me. The first being the clarity of purpose, which explored the idea that there are 6 core needs researchers have found are important for humans at work and in our personal lives. Each of us has a hierarchy for the 6. You might find equality and belonging are more important to your choice, but choice and status are more important to your employee, your partner, or your child. Getting to know them is a shortcut to better communication as well as greater inclusivity at work.
Keeping these things in mind when moving this policy through this process and when taking a resolution to city council for adoption, or once I ask my staff for implementation, will be key in having productive conversations, reaching consensus, and day-to-day application of the policy. To remember the 6 core needs, you can recall biceps: belonging, improvement, choice, equality, predictability, and status. The second session offered up 2 questions that I could ask when working with my team. The first was, what is the right leadership approach for this person in this moment? And what do I need to stop doing to help me be successful? I found both of these sessions to be very applicable when considering the fact I'll be asking for a lot of change when implementing the practices found in this new policy. So we would like to ask for some volunteers to form a special focus group to review the policy and make recommendations. We will bring them back to this board in December with any recommended changes to help develop a resolution to present to City Council. The City Council agenda is dealing with some competing priorities, so I hope to present to them sometime early in the new year and have them review the resolution that will discuss our cultural and mechanical practices to begin implementation in the early spring. During the academy, I was reminded very quickly that they need to be flexible and adaptive. It is not uncommon to come against competing priorities while working for a municipality. My timeline for this project in completion was extended, and that's okay. I think even more valuable were the connections I made to the academy. I now have a whole state worth of contacts I can reach out to, so I will surely encounter new challenges in this role. What questions can I answer for you guys?
I have a comment. I love that one of the leadership things, one of the questions was that to ask what you could stop doing to help your employees. Yeah, it's you have to always think about, well, what can I do for you, but like you're doing something to get on your way. Yeah.
My team members comment breathing.
Ari.
So easy to talk to you. A question for you. How is foreign fertilization was one of the, I think it was one of the 6. How does that play in? It's more of a curiosity question.
If we keep our plants healthy from the beginning, it makes it harder for the weeds to infiltrate. So taking taking over soil or planting beds, having all kinds of different things come and take over.
Thanks.
Kim also sent in a question. And then real quick, also fertilization, when are we fertilizing and what type of fertilizer, and so all of those things will, I think we need to mention that. But that was something where, like, for example, at Sandy Bluff, we've hired a person who's coming in and doing an irrigation audit for us. And so we're taking a look at, like, when do we water? How often do we water? Is the soil healthy? Should we looking at the soil consistency? So we're taking soil samples. And so we're really looking at one of those cultural practices, because we might lay fertilizer down at Sandy Bluff, but the ground's not going to take it. And so that's where we're doing and making some mindful changes just on some of our practices. So, yeah. Did you see that question?
I did. I'm trying to find my document. Don't be fast. So the document currently is approximately 41 pages. We're just asking each person to read it and give their comment and feedback. And then couple hours probably, and then a few meetings. We're talking about meeting at the times just as a bonus group, not as a parks board, to discuss those recommendations and answer questions.
Probably once in November. And if the group comes together and we end up fighting for 3 hours, then maybe we'll have to come back for a second meeting. I didn't know those was really interesting. Yeah, but Kim, to answer your question, we'll send it out to the working group first, we'll review it, and then we'll probably have a meeting to take and review comments. And then again, if we need to have a second meeting, we would do that prior to the meeting in December. And if we need to adjust the timeline, not talk about this in December, the Parks Board, we can absolutely do that in the January meeting. It's for us, it's important to take your time to get your feedback and buy in, and so.
I would imagine timeline is also
That's when we start receiving to apply again.
Those are really nice.
Any other questions?
Question about like the time of day it needs to take place, because like due to job constraints, so like as being a school teacher, I might be available during the daytime, but whenever later afternoons or early evenings, I'm available. And so I was curious, like, what the type of day,
For meetings.
yeah, for meetings.
Yeah, we'll probably work around people's work schedules, and so if it's, the evening seems to make more sense because. Right. So, no, we don't have to wait until 7.
Yeah.
If we could, you know, right after. So this is the part, is the focus group, among us, or is it focus volunteers? Yeah, there's no other questions you wanna see who's interested,
Is there anybody actually interested in volunteering? If we're too interested. We're just going to make it. Okay. Okay.
I am completely swamped in investigation cases right now. I don't have any free time.
Thank you.
Probably the volunteer role.
The volunteer forms, okay. So, yeah.
Good for you guys, that was easy.
Thanks, Jay.
It's really good reading.
Everybody says that she wants to look.
Well, I was
Like, never said yes.
Sorry, that. It's not, it's really just a, thank you for volunteering. Thanks a lot.
business establishments.
I sure do. All right, I'll talk about the senior services side, the recreation side. On the senior services side, I think I mentioned it last month. We have the compliance service coordinator of 7 years. We are interviewing for that position starting next week. Hope to offer a job with that round of interviews. Super impressed by the applicants, so I feel really confident that we're going to get someone to join our team and come in and take some of the load off. A weird blessing in disguise, we had a silver lining that kind of forced me and the rest of our staff to like look into depth of what her role was, because we kind of all took that on and spread out those roles. I have a much clearer understanding, and I'm much more confident in my ability to train any compliance services coordinator, because I've been the person taking a large amount of those responsibilities and can speak to them firsthand knowledge now. So if there is a silver lining in losing someone as passionate, good as Olga, is that I do and was forced to be taken to that position. On the recreation side, we're getting really close to becoming fully staffed here. Kind of like in the same position, we're down, but we are actively recruiting, and I feel more than optimistic that that will be filled by the end of this year. Some exciting news: Mountain Storm Youth Basketball is back after a 3-year hiatus. That's the 3rd and 4th, 5th and 6th youth boys and girls basketball league. Registration is open as of like 3:30. We had something like 60 registered. We have a goal of 150. That's about what we can handle the capacity of the gyms we have. And we still have the 29th to recruit. So I think we're going to get there. Winter recreation guide, our fall came out, we're proud of it. We're doing the same thing for our other activities. The great thing about that is that format, the graphic designer who we work with is already contract. The winter one will be way less time. A lot of those activities and classes are kind of like rinse and repeat. We have a couple new ideas that we're working on that we're excited about, but kind of still think we can succeed to that. That should be how next thing process where we're gonna put out like a little tickler and the utility bill. We'll have it online, and we'll have 500 to 700 copies here that you can come and get excited for classes. It's been pretty awesome this fall. We'll see the center start to grow and thrive. When I first started, it was not even open fully, so that watch it slowly turn into displays. We had 12 ladies playing bunko here today and ringing bells and shooting dice, and we've had Tai Chi back, and there's yoga, there's a group upstairs. bowling or moving tables, and it's just,
Maybe brought you or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice to come to work in recreation at a community center where you can see that you're starting to have that stuff right and impacting and thriving. I think I'm most excited about is our holiday event, the holiday lights at Mining. We are way past the stage of planning that. We have signed our contract. It's a $29,000 contract to have lights at Mining Park. $23,000 of that is recouped by us. That is our lights that we own. I think $6,000 is the training of the installation, how we organize them, how we put them away, how we install them, the best practice to that. And that's the repeating use every year. And the goal is to kind of build on that long-term vision, the zoo lights, grotto-ish, but our own Sandy Mining flair on it. So pretty excited about that. We know that's a lot of money. Carol, our recreation coordinator, incredible. Gave her a goal. She superseded that goal already. She's already got $11,000 in sponsorships to offset the cost of those lights. And not just the cost part, but she has like 4 or 5 local nonprofits that are doing like event sponsors, where they're showing up at one of the events, serving hot drinks, serving snacks, having a booth there. So not just the money that we're getting, but it's the outreach community coming to support it too. The 5 events that we're doing. First one is pet pictures with the Grinch. So you can bring your food underneath the stage. It's going to be all lit up and magical, and you can take a picture with your family pet and the Grinch. The next one is a dramatic reading with Snow Queens. The Snow Queens is Elsa. We cannot call her Elsa, but you will get the gist pretty quickly. The third event is Estampa y Santa. That is the Latino group that does like the dancing. Santa Claus is going to be there as well. Fourth one is shortest day walkway. Every summer on the summer solstice, we do a longest day parkway. This is the winter solstice, so we're going to do shortest day walkway. So instead of going around a giant neighborhood at the park, we'll just walk around my neighborhood when we did stop at. And the last one is holiday happy hour. That is a 21 and over event. We have I think it's called Just Rum. It's a local rum vendor. They're gonna serve drinks. We're gonna have tamales. Wear some festive gear. There'll be a DJ. There'll be a photo booth. Yeah. So those are. We do have dates. But the other thing that's really great about it is that those lights are just on, right? So it doesn't have to be one of these events to go and walk the park with family and friends. Right after the tree in the plaza is lit up, DJ, who is the actual DJ, his name is DJ, is going to direct everyone to the park and say, you want to go check it out, just be like a walkthrough. And then it is the 3rd, the 10th, the 18th, the 21st, and the 28th are the dates of these events. And those are locked down. I'd say 90% of those events are kind of like ready to go. I'm not going to just working out the things. That's been fun, rewarding, educational, it's stressful, but kind of awesome. Yeah. I really have this, we as a department have, I hope that becomes like a staple that people here like really look forward to every year. At least that's the goal. And then, Oregon Parks and Recreation Association does an annual conference. Tiana, Michelle will be going to that early November. Networking, educational classes, all around good times.
Wonderful. I really like the enthusiasm. Yes, Jen. Do you want to?
Do I have to follow that up?
We heard it.
We have 2 exciting things. We have hired backfill my vacancy with Brian Schaefer, and he is eager and excited and has dove right in and is having great things. And we just completed the install of heaters in the bathroom up at my new park, so we are moving towards having that bathroom around. And today we installed new playground equipment over at San Luis State Park for that grant. The grant funds that I received a few months back, we did equipment in and we put the first piece in today. Awesome. We went very smooth.
Awesome. I'll report really quick. First I want to thank the team. You guys are just, we're doing a lot of stuff in the department and excited about it. You guys are, I'm really proud of the group. The individuals that are here that are from the team, just, when you talked about Carol's just absolutely across there. Sponsorship solicitation, we're bringing the people on, we're seeing some really exciting changes. So thank you guys for that. Just seeing that in public setting. Great, so good work, good work. I have some sad news. So Monday, last week, the council imposed a moratorium on development. And if you haven't already heard, it was a really tough decision, and it's related to the sewer capacity. And there's a great website out there that our communications director has put out there that when we're done with this meeting, we'll send an email out to the Parks group. So you can take a look at that website if you have questions. I know that they can themselves available to answer those questions. So if your ears to the ground and as a Parks Board member, you're getting comments about that, please feel free to reach out to the city that can help you respond and answer those questions. It will affect development for a little bit, and it's a 6-month moratorium. And after the 6 months, they're going to do a stress test to see if the improvements that they've been working on allow for additional capacity or ERUs, which I believe stands for, gosh, do you remember? I think it was.
It's basically how many units it can handle. So, yeah, which ideally, maybe that stress test, it should take us from our current 120. So right now, we're going to allow 120 hookups during the 6-month moratorium. And we're hoping that that will gain an extra 500, which would then, basically open up people who are in the queue. The semi-positive out of it is that right now, everybody who's currently in process of development fits inside this 120 hookups. Everybody else that's ready is technically kind of in that 6-month out, so that might not really affect development too much. That's best case scenario. Fingers crossed. So we'll see. And I know that the Jen and her team are working super hard to try to get all that stuff. So hope this that it just. So I do know STK is looking at potentially doing the exact same thing. So.
That and hopefully we can reach out with good questions. We're happy to connect you with any of the resources. So the park RFP for the community campus will go out next week or potentially the following, but within the next week and a half. It's coming. We're really excited about that. And so stay tuned for updates once we get a consultant on board, hopefully in January. We're going to start working on refining the concept plan that's bringing in the Parks and Trails master plan through robust public engagement. We're looking at bike park pump track, preliminary numbers for the budget. So we are on track to get that moving forward. So we're very excited about doing some good with that thing on there. So, and then this was it last week, the council, and I was able to join the council in Bend for the League of Oregon Cities, and then we went on a tour of the park system in Bend, and that was really, I felt it was a really interesting experience, and we're going to build parks like that, like this is going to happen. So I felt it was very, very inspiring, and it was nice to spend some time with the council and ask questions.
Chase the line.
It was great. So yeah, it's that is the conclusion of my staff report. And yes, that might be one of the quickest meetings we've had.
Yeah, can I give just a quick update, if you don't mind, please? So a couple of things, just to touch kind of on what she was talking about with the Bend Parks Board. Bend basically kind of instituted an increase in their SDCs and did some got their Parks and Recs sort of is district. Thank you. It's been a long day. Parks and Recs district going in 1972, I believe is what they said, and then in 72 they were about the same size that CU. So there's a couple things that that I just kind of want you guys as the Parks Board to think about. one of the things I think is going to be really important for us moving forward is that we do get a Parks and Rec district. Recognizing that, you know, the economy right now is a little precarious, and that people might not be super enthused at the moment about potentially doing a Parks and Rec district. But how we can champion that in the community over, say, the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and what groups we might want to get involved in doing that to really kind of get that information out and start to really gain some momentum to be able to get something like that passed, so that we have the funding to create some parks, but also to maintain. Yeah,
Parks and Rec district.
we don't have one yet.
What does that mean?
Well, so what you can do with the Parks and Rec district that unfortunately you really can't do with the city is that you can create a district that almost operates and basically maintains parks. So that would be a great way for us to get ball fields, for example, or maybe want to tack in an aquatics district with it. You know, Ben's got a series of pump tracks and skate parks and various things. Now, granted, they serve 100,000 people, but you do have to start somewhere. And so what that would allow would be that districts, you pay for district in your taxes, and then money would go just to that district, and they would control the parks, and the city would be like totally separate pool of money. Not that the city wouldn't still have some parks, you may, like they can be set up with a quiz, but it's a way to achieve better parks and rec programs, not programs, but better parks without having to take money from the city. We're constantly competing for that money, right? And so that to me, and kind of over the last several years of council, is kind of the direction that I feel like we need to go in order to better serve the community, which I think people want parks. I think that's pretty obvious. So anyway, just kind of want to put that out, maybe you guys and some people or some groups that would be a good starting point.
Yeah.
Just kind of start some conversations.
And so, for example, the Bend Park system has 500 employees. They are park and recreation. They're a $35 million budget. And when I was speaking with Dawn, they bring in about $20 million in SDC. So the SDCs are routed through the city. And then the city keeps 1.6% of those SDCs and then administers those to the district. A district has a separate governing body. And so right now, the council, we run policy and everything through the council. You would have a district board that would handle park and recreation items. And then there's legwork up front where oftentimes if a district's going to be formed, there's board in the community. And so there's definitely some legwork ahead of time. And then that's where these topics will come back to the board, discuss the pros and cons, and really look at what's the need assessment of the community. Would they be interested in this? If they are, what are the defining parameters? Do we just do city limits? Do we do slightly outside of city limits? It's basically like it's a taxing overlay, like a school district would be part of their district. So,
And it just would really, you know, for a lot of the stuff that when you look at the Parks and Trails master plan, you know, those were some things that we could get via a district where you could really like, instead of having, you know, a good park, you could have a great park, you know. So just something to think about, you know, kind of moving forward. My other big takeaway in that was the number of partnerships that they had, you know, private partnerships in different. So it wasn't just the Parks and Rec district, it wasn't just the city, but they had investment from like local businesses, or they had like local groups, like they had a BMX track that was there, that their BMX group runs, the city owns it, so they pay for the use of the facility, but they own it, they operate, not own, but they operate it. And then they allow, what did he say, like a couple times a month, the city can come in and people can pay a fee and their kids can ride, you know, some of their stuff. And so those, you know, were some like unique thought processes that maybe we've not really considered a lot, is where we can kind of partner with people to just kind of get some broader parks and broader perspective. So just some things maybe for you guys to think about moving forward.
One more yes than I'm comfortable with.
Right, one more yes than we're comfortable with, yeah, but we have to start somewhere and, you know, I think, you know, even if it's not right now, you know, I'd like to be ahead of some conversations and just kind of start that momentum in the community so that, you know, so that it's sooner than later.
Yeah, that's a great point, thank you, because if you're out in the community and you hear of some partnerships that could benefit the center or programs we're working on, please come talk to us about it, because John had a really good example of how we're engaging other community partners through the Holiday Alliance, through sponsorship. You know, as we build and develop parks, how can we work with people, John's working with some nonprofits locally to help with facilitating cooperative meals. So yeah, it's limited. That was what I love that takeaway too.
I think that was
Inspiring.
yes.
And each conference has a lot. Yeah, very neat. Like they don't have to really know what was like, how do we make this work?
Yes.
So,
And so it's a really neat way to get amenities that really don't cost as much as it would the city we're trying to do it all themselves. So.
that's it. I'm gonna adjourn. 7:30.